PHP functions. Of course, PHP info is a function, but what does a function do? Well, it returns something, which is placed on the left of the equal sign. Then we have the function name, the known function, and then we have a parameter list, which is typically comma-separated. Some languages do it differently, but for the most part, PHP, you'll see this format for a function. You call the function, and if it returns something, you can set it here. So if the function returns some sort of a string, which you can print out to the page, as we'll find with WordPress templates, you can easily get the return value, then do something with it, maybe a regular expression match, and then echo it out to the page. Good coding techniques, definitely indent your code. Make your code start on new lines when you do stuff, indent it properly so that you can tell where one thing starts and another thing ends. If you haven't seen code before, you'll see lots of it in the final lecture and you'll realize that yes, indenting your code is very important. For comments, // is typically the one to choose for PHP. If you want to do multiple lines, /*, / between whatever comment you want. These are basically things that allow you to talk to yourself or allow somebody else to read what you were thinking when you wrote code. Typically, you make a comment while you're writing code so that once you write the function and never look at it again, if it breaks 2 years down the road, somebody else who's got a fixture code will look at the comment and say, oh, that's what this is supposed to do. Well, there's a new efficient way to do it, so let's just write this block of code that does what the comment says. And that's typically why we comment code. Variables, kind of touched on already, but variables start with a $, and they can basically be named anything. And basically what they do is they map to some value. In PHP, we'll get the types of what a variable can actually be. But in this example, we have greet, which is a variable, set to a string, hello world, which is basically English. And then we can echo out the div around the variable. Notice how we're using double quotes. So in this example here, $greet will become hello world because it's executed by PHP because it's double quoted. And we'll get to a small danger with including variables next. But just remember that the variable is set to the string hello world, so hello world will be printed between the two divs. PHP only recognizes variables inside of strings if you have the two quotes around it. Another way is to escape outside of the string and concatenate. So the quote dot quote is the concatenation, so the dot is a concatenation or it combines two things together, or strings in this case. So we echo out the string div, dot, whatever the variable is, dot, and then the div. So that's a single line, and once again, greet is hello world, so it's printed out. So, do I have that? Okay. So in PHP, we also have something called print. And the only difference between print and echo is that print will only allow you to print out a single variable. So you're required to use the dot operator concatenator to work with print. And echo takes in multiple parameters. So what you can actually do is you can do the quotes of div, which is your first string, comma, and then your variable, comma, and then div. So if you have echo there, it'll work. If you have print, it won't because you're passing in multiple parameters to the function, and print only accepts one parameter. More about variables. Basically, if they start with a $, they're case sensitive, and they contain letters, digits, and underscores for the most part. And finally, they should be meaningful because you don't want to just create variables like A, B, C and have no idea what they're doing 10 pages down in the code. So it's just good coding practice. And finally, $this is a reserved variable because in object-oriented programming, this refers to the class that we're in. So to increment and decrement a number, we could do number equals whatever whatever the number is, +1 or whatever. But let's say that we're too lazy and we just want to make it a little bit shorter, a little cleaner, whatever. We can do plus plus or minus minus, which increments by 1 or decrements by 1. So it just takes a variable, adds 1 to it, or subtracts 1. Types in PHP. 3 basic types that are really commonly used in PHP are strings, integers, and booleans. Strings are typical English phrases containing of whatever characters you have. Integers are numbers. Booleans are true and false. Comparisons. If you do $integer equals $string, for string equals 0, integer equals 0, it'll check for equality and that'll be true. The triple equal sign checks for equality and type in PHP. So even though string and integer were set to 0 before, there are different types, therefore that would return false. And that's really useful if you're trying to do some fancy stuff with number conversions in PHP. Then finally we have truth equals false. The single equal sign is just assigns a value. Other comparisons, we have smaller than, greater than or equal, and less than or equal. Logical operators, we can have or and. There's probably others that I've never used before, but and or tend to be the ones I use. Basically, if one statement is true or the other statement is true, the one here, if statement becomes true and it runs. And with the second one, both have to be true to run. Of course, brand can't be Coke and brand can't be Pepsi, so that would never run. And or can be the 2 pipe symbols, and can be 2 ampersands for shorthand. If statements, because I haven't really covered conditions yet formally, but basically, if something is true, we run an if statement. So if we're drunk, don't drive. Else, drive. Basically, if condition automatically assumes that the condition has to be true before the if statement runs. Otherwise, we can do equal, equal, false, or we can do a triple equals operator and compare type and the value. The ternary operator, this here is the same thing as this here. The ternary operator just kind of takes a bunch of stuff and condenses it down and makes it easy. So $A will become 1 or 2 based on if this is true or not. So it's just a short, cool way of doing stuff. Loops. Well, we have our traditional while loop. While the condition is true, do this forever. So top, bottom, whatever, till it's no longer true. Or we can do our for loop, which we specify a start condition, something less than, so this is your stop condition for when to stop. And finally, I plus yes.
Are was PHP case sensitive? Because I noticed that you had if.
Yes, it is. Yeah, PowerPoint really isn't great with fixing that stuff. So I probably made a few mistakes here and there. But mostly in PHP, I stick with lowercase. So, and then I echo out whatever I is, so this will print out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Just like it's counting. And that /n on operating systems is the new line character, so it's basically the same as hitting enter. Yes?
How does typing work?
Typing works by, in compares we have several types. We have strings, which are basically lines of characters, so it can be hello world or something, or 0 as a character. And then we also have integers, which are basically numbers, and integers are represented in binary. So the difference between strings and numbers is a string we're going to represent using an ASCII table. Have you ever heard of that? Basically, the ASCII table is used for strings, but if we have an integer, we can save a lot of space and let the computer do math computationally in its native abilities. So numbers are a lot easier to work with, so we convert integers to binary, and then we do computations, and then we convert them back to a human-readable decimal form when we need to print it unlike other languages. So $I can be anything and it can be reassigned to anything also. So the switch in PHP is nothing more than an elegant if-else case. So switch, whatever a string is, and then case matches whatever a variable is. So case, whatever the variable can equal, do something, and then break, and the else case in the switch is default and do whatever. And that's how a switch works. So the SHA-1 function replaced MD5. It's a little bit more secure. It's the secure hashing algorithm, and it's the first version. PHP has an actual function called SHA-1 that will generate an encrypted string value from a password that you input into it. And basically what you need to know is that SHA-1 isn't perfect. So if you store your hashes into the database as SHA-1 outputs them, you're probably doing your users a disservice if you're providing a service on your website. Because if a hacker gets the database, they can see that encrypted string. So what programmers typically do is they add a salt, which means that they add some sort of value to the string. So, for example, they might add the current time, and in the database they might insert the current time just so that they can decrypt the string when they have, or not decrypt it, but rather compare it if you ever have to do a comparison. So encryption in PHP works by, we have our original user password that's given to us. We basically create a SHA-1 hash of that, or the encrypted form of that password. Then we do an encryption again using time, or we might just append the time to it. To reverse it, when the user enters their password later on, what we do is we take the password, we take the original time or whatever we used as the salt or addition to the password, we redo the hash, and then we compare the hashed values to the one that was stored in the database. And that's how encryption works in PHP. Don't use MD5 because it's very weak. And I think it's been hacked recently, but I don't know. So regular expressions, definitely not my strong suit, but I do know that period match is now the way to do regular expressions, because if you use the ergi function, which was the old way of doing it, it's a lot more inefficient and it will slow down your website and application if you're running a web app. So period match, here's the function reference, and other than that, there's some other sources for it, and they're a lot of fun if you are a regular expressions person. Embedding a page in another page, rather. There's two ways of doing this. We can use the URL